Tuesday night, football week, last week of the regular season. It's time for another edition of East County Sports Live. I'm Ramon Scott, joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com, and joining us tonight, a couple of guys in some good ball games this week. Up in the upper right-hand corner, Granite Hills Junior quarterback Justus McComb, and in the lower right, West Hills Senior, getting ready for his senior night. Both schools have senior night, but Steve is a senior. Stephen CRISTINI of the West Hills Wolfpack. Dave, don't know if you know this, Dave, but both these guys knew each other. When I came into the room, they were already chatting away. They were members of the Santee Ravens and also played quite a bit of baseball together, maybe even a little more baseball than football, believe it or not. But thanks for a great combo tonight, Dave.
Well, like I said, I kind of figured, we hadn't had either one of them, and they had put up some pretty good stats last week too. Justus, and I believe it was over, I want to say 375 yards passing, and I know that, it took a little deciphering on who really won that game, or if it was a combo as far as Steven, because it was also Kip. He had quite a play himself, so. Yeah. It was a really hard choice to see who I was going to bring on. I almost a deuce, but I think you got it done really, and got the win for you guys against Mount Miguel.
Yeah, thank you.
You're being a little generous. I had 307 yards.
Yeah, but also got 375 yards in the game before, Justus. So you've been hot. Yeah, Dave, you talked about the Klingerman brothers, and Steve, I kind of scrapped my first opening for the show because I don't know, you look at Steve and you look at the Klingerman brothers. I mean, Steve's a little smaller than those guys, I'm pretty sure. But, I just go back to that game where, Steve, you had that 100-yard interception return, and, man, you had a great night and you have a great season. I mean, your stats are up there with your buddies, the Klingerman brothers. And Dave, my lead for this story was going to be, I'm Ramon Klingerman, and I'm joined by Dave Klingerman, and we got Justus Klingerman, and we've got Steve Klingerman. We call them Klingerman.
I know. It's all the same thing, like same players. I mean, we all do the same stuff.
Mostly because those guys are all over the field. And
exactly.
Yeah, Dave.
Well, I mean, it's quite impressive too because the way that Coach Ash actually spoke of this team in particular, I believe it was actually last week, is after the Escondido game, that it was probably one of the toughest and the hardest working clubs that he'd ever coached since he's been coaching. So for him to make a statement like that, I think that says a lot about the character of your team as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, we went through, like, starting off, it was rough. We lost two coaches out of nowhere. We lost one coach in the middle, like kind of the middle of the season, and it was tough on the coaching staff. Like, Coach Ash needed a little bit more help. He needed some coaches. And then, we were getting coaches, like new coaches in and out. And then, we were really short on players this year. We didn't have a very big, like, junior class. We have very, very few juniors. And so, there was some young kids brought up and then a lot of pressure on the senior class. And so we kind of just know what we have to get done. So there's a lot of us going both ways, So yeah, we're really like working hard this year.
Well, yeah, Braden's one of the younger kids that came up and I know he's been switching off. They've been pretty similar, though. If you look at the numbers wise, I mean, touchdowns wise, yards wise, they're pretty identical.
Yeah, their stats are the same. I mean, I thought we were gonna end up having a set quarterback by now, but they really, they both are doing the same thing, and they both have their strengths. One can throw a little farther, one's a little faster. So it's kind of just however we're feeling that drive or that game. We have our options.
Hey! If Helix can do it, then you guys can do it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I know we can make it work.
And speaking of that, we need to jump up to Justus on that. I mean, after having a couple of games where you guys kind of stubbed your own toes, unfortunately. I mean, really, we didn't even get beat. We beat ourselves a little bit, and then to be able to keep up with Helix like you did, I think you did give them a little bit of a scare for a bit there. You were keeping pretty tight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm very proud of how our guys played. Our coaches even came down from the film and said that they were yelling and screaming and yelling, "What are we doing? What's going on?" And they're getting a little nervous. But that team's really good. They're really athletic, and even without Noah, they had backup running backs that are just absolute monsters still, and they just ran it down our throats that last fourth quarter.
Justice, I imagine, and look, I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I mean, we're in a 4-game losing streak, and this just doesn't happen at Granite Hills. So I know you guys are taking it to heart. But that moment when you guys were able to get those 3 quick scores and pull to within a touchdown of Helix, no, you're coming off a loss, but man, it's got to be some good energy this week going into the season finale against Valhalla and getting ready to the playoffs. I mean, I imagine the sideline was erupting at that point when you guys were back in the game. Tell me about the energy of that moment.
Oh, it was amazing. Like my own line was getting into it. Our receivers were all getting ready to go win that game, pull off a huge upset. And it didn't end up happening, but I'm really proud of our guys and the way that they fought and were ready to actually go win that game. I mean, we had a chance to go score with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, down by 2 touchdowns, and it was 4th down. And we just couldn't pick it up in the red zone.
Now, how about your I want to discuss what you think of your newest receiver that you have now, number 3. He's been quite the go-to guy for being so young and really athletic, really speedy, really quick, and some great hands. You want to elaborate on him? I mean, you've been throwing to him quite a bit.
Yeah, Jalen Hall. We brought him up like halfway through the season. He's been playing really good. I'm probably the hardest on him out of all of our receivers, just because he's a freshman and everyone else is seniors. They already been in the offense for a while, but I really think Jalen Hall is going to be a great athlete. Probably go play at college level, and it's just I'm going to be hard on him just because he's going to be that good, and I need that connection next year too. But we also had 9. I think it was either had 7 or 9 different receivers catch the balls against Helix.
And when you could do something like that against a defense like that, you guys should be pretty proud of yourselves. And I'm sure your offensive coordinator was fit to be tied after that. He was probably like, boy, couldn't we do this the last couple of games? But still, you did it against Helix. You got some positive out of a game like that you almost won, and taking that to Valhalla, into the Valhalla game, I think you should finish with quite a dandy to wrap up the regular season.
Yeah, for sure. This is probably the most competitive I've seen our team like in practice today and Monday since we were 4-1, and I think we got complacent and didn't really like work as we normally did in practice, like competitiveness against offense versus defense. And it was just nice to see today, like us getting into each other a little bit.
Yeah, Dave, you could easily say that Valhalla is going to be, and I know Granite Hills is going to respect Valhalla because this is really a big game for them too, just because of their positioning. Looks like they're in the playoffs, but this is an old rivalry really. And Granite Hills, I want to say they've kind of kindled the rivalry a little bit with Steel Canyon, but back in our day, Dave, Valhalla Granite Hills was kind of the big game.
I didn't like yeah, beating Valhalla was huge back then.
Yes.
Unfortunately for Valhalla, you could easily say, Justice, that we're struggling a little bit. Not really struggling. I mean, this is the tough part of the schedule. And hey, those were league games. These have been league games. So that's kind of what's gone into this. And we see how elite those teams are. But Dave, unfortunately for Valhalla, the Eagles would, I think, want to get a league win. And I think that's what is going to make them the considerable favorite in the game on Friday night.
Absolutely. I think from what I saw last week, as I said, and we know what all the head coaches have said in it's almost a cliche. We can't blame the refs for the loss or the win. I mean, it's we have to go out and play the game. We can't let them, we can't let them play for it. But I'm sorry, it was just, to me, I was at the point of I want to write the commissioner personally because it had been so bad. But I think there were some of them that could have cost the game. El Cap played really hard. Not to say the ball hauler did not, but I think that it might have even been closer, like within a point.
Dave, I don't know, Dave. Maybe we got to give you a set of stripes and go out there and do what some of these guys do on Friday night. But I'm not going to belittle that. Justice, let me fire you up a little bit and talk about your guy down here, Stephen Cristini. The game, Dave. Some guy on East County Sports, he picked the score exactly right last week. I don't know if these guys read the.
I know that was crazy.
Anyways, you know who scored the decisive touchdown was Steve in that game, and he also had an interception. But Steve, I want to know if you got a chance and what your strategy was against Jaheim Allen Pompey. Certainly a major concern for you guys in the secondary, and kind of. Look, he had 16 catches, and I know a lot of them are kind of that play where he catches the ball at the line of scrimmage, tries to put up some blocking, but he's also a good downfield receiver. So what was your strategy against him, and tell me about the ball game against the Matadors?
Yeah, so I mean, we knew like, I mean, coming into the game, we obviously knew about him and how he was, the number one receiver and receiving yards, and I mean, we knew that they wanted to get the ball to him a lot of the times, and they like to run those like screen passes. So we tried to get as much as possible someone trying to jam him off the line, just to kind of mess up the timing and the routes, with their quarterback, because they have a great connection. And so we also wanted to stay on top because he's a quick receiver and he's fast. And so that was kind of the plan, was to really try to stay on top, and the short ones, here and there, let him get the short ones. But we really just try to save ourselves from the big plays, because that's what they like to score on most, is those one play touchdowns. So we really tried to slow their offense down and try to take control of the clock. So yeah, that was like how it went down.
Yeah, to keep. I mean, that's got to be the key. I mean, kind of a Hamamoto thing that Monte Vista had done just the week before. Santana being undefeated, and when you got a high-powered offense on the field like that, you want to keep them off of the field for as long as possible, because somebody that explosive, they could put up three touchdowns in a matter of a minute or two.
Exactly.
So you guys played exactly textbook for that game in particular. And then, of course, the score being called what it was ahead of time. Yeah. That's just a bonus.
Yeah, I'm just leaving.
I mean, we were just thinking about that before the game, and then that actually, like, being the outcome. That was, our whole team was talking about how that was the prediction, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I'm just leaving it up there for a few extra minutes, Dave, to try to remember your dad and all his picks and how much better he was at picking games than I am. You got this one right, Dave, and it sets up the big game. Look, everyone, we're going to talk tomorrow night about Helix and Steel Canyon, and maybe we'll even ask Justice to help us figure out that game a little bit before we leave tonight. But another big game, Dave, it's the championship game, and it's Monte Vista at West Hills this Friday night. This is for the league championship. Now, Monte Vista already has secured at least a share of the league title, Dave, but imagine West Hills and what they had, early in the season. They had some losses, and now they're on a hot streak and in position at home, Dave, on senior night. All they got to do is beat this tough Monte Vista club, and you think last week's game was close? This week's game is going to be just like that. I don't want to burst Steve's bubble. It's going to be a close game, Dave.
For sure.
Well, like you said, all they have to do. I think that that was Santana, I think, went in there. I don't want to say they went in there too overconfident, but the big talk around the Valley League has been, well, McClendon's not there anymore, so it's not quite as tough a team. And then Blake Schmidt, the bigger guy of the two Schmidt brothers. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, from what I've understood I saw a couple of the Sultans at the Southwestern and Grossmont game this Saturday, and I'll tell you what, they had a lot of good things to say about Monte Vista, and that they love to beat you with the ground, and they will run it 40 times if need be to make sure that they keep you off the field.
Yeah, I mean, their coaches won a lot of games, and they really know how to run the ball, and it's really just gonna be up to our line and our backers to kind of get it done. Jake's gonna have to have a really big game, and Austin's gonna have to have a big game, and they like to do a little boot stuff here and there, so we'll keep our eye on that. But I mean, we know what they want, and so we kind of have to get it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Stephen, let me go, Dave. I got to ask him about this because this is a great dichotomy of a matchup. So we think of West Hills, we think of Kip and Cole, we think of Steve. Jake Mayhew. You talked about him, Stephen. Jake Mayhew, Austin Ruiz, Castaneda, kind of your anchors in the middle. So
yeah.
you don't have a night off tonight. I think you have to turn yourself into a linebacker. You and the Klingerman brothers.
Yeah,
you can jam the box against these guys. You gotta buff up a little bit.
That's kind of how it's going this week. Kip's kind of moved from back to kind of up front, and Cole's not playing a corner this week. He's kind of moving in, so we're kind of getting the heart of the team right there. So, and we were in the same position last year. So the seniors really want it this year, coming back for redemption.
Dave, so I'll say it from an analysis standpoint, because I don't want to pose it as a question, because I think Stephen answered it perfectly on the type of strategy that they're going to have to employ. But to me, Monte Vista's strength is not West Hill's strength. Okay, I mean, we know that Jake's been great over these years, and Austin is great down there in the middle. But West Hills might lack the extra number of players inside. We think of how talented they are around the outside. So I think West Hills, though, does counter it by playing this game at home and the fact that they're on a hot streak. So, Dave, that's why I think it's going to be so close.
Well, I tell you what, too. I've had a chance to hear the fans at all levels, including the freshman levels, since my son's playing on the freshman team at West Hills. So knowing how much support they get even at that level, and then at the JV level, and then you hear it at there's a lot of support when it comes to Friday night when you guys are playing at home. So I think that is huge for you guys. That's just one of the first steps to winning a game like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of my last times, stepping on that field, and we got great fans out there. So I think it's going to be they come with great support. It'll be a fun night, a good game.
Yeah, and Justice, for you this week, I want you to expand a little bit on some of your guys. I'm not going to harp on this losing streak anymore, because you've had a great season, brother. Over 2,100 yards passing so far, and 20 touchdowns. So tell me about your receiving core, especially the year that James Johnson has had, the emergence of Matt Keeley and Jacob Setterberg. What's his status going into this game, and your passing game against Valhalla?
Yeah, I have lots of weapons on my team, and I'm very thankful for that. We know how to use them. Keeley, believe it or not, as a freshman, played the end on our freshman team, and he's moved to a safety and a wide receiver. He's just a freak athlete. And we moved Junie, Richard Harris Williams, to our slot position, that he gets some playing time there. James is having a great senior season. I think he's north of 70 catches right now, around there, 60, 70 catches, and that's a lot of catches. And Jacob Setterberg, he's been struggling with some injuries in his ankles, but he's been coming back and playing and practicing, and I'm proud of him for doing that, and he's just been fighting. So my receiving core is pretty crazy, and I have some running backs that can catch the ball in the backfield, and my O-line gives me lots of time, so that's all.
You have Jacob available for this game, Justin?
Yes.
Jacob? Okay, yeah. Great.
Jacob Setterberg is available.
Just wanted to make sure that I know he's been battling those a little bit, and I just mentioned it, Dave, because last year against Valhalla, Setterberg caught a pair of touchdowns in that game, and Johnson and Carlos De Leon also had touchdowns against Valhalla last year, Dave.
Yeah, and I think, and that's what I was going to ask you about, how nice that is. Also, I know it was later in the season that you had him off of the bench since he took a little hiatus to Mississippi, but having Martin back, I'm sure, has also helped the offensive side.
Can you say that one more time? You kind of cut out.
Having Kevon back after a hiatus over to Mississippi, I'm sure that's helped a lot with the ground game as well.
Yeah, 100%. He's super elusive and hits the hole hard. So.
Yeah, Dave, the Eagles won that game last year 43-0, but we know Valhalla has improved dramatically this year. The thing was that Granite in that game, they were driving for that 4th straight league championship. So, that was a big, big game for them when they came away with that win. And they didn't know at the time that Steele was going to upset Helix. So, Justice, you played both teams, and those guys are going to play in a big game this week, and I'm kind of interested on your thoughts if you can. You don't have to pick it necessarily, but I think everyone's kind of thinking that Steele has a big, big chance, especially because they're at home against Helix this week in the championship game. So you just played last week, Helix, and gave them that big, big scare. And we know you had a pretty decent game against the Cougars, even though that went their way. It came down to the wire kind of there. They kind of needed that extra touchdown at the end of the game to seal it away against you guys. So what do you see for that championship game in the league?
I see Steel Canyon, who has a lot of athletes who can probably man up their wide receivers, won't have to play zone just because Antoine and T-Max out there, they're T-Mac, they some long, lengthy DBs. And Chance, he's getting offers, and he's a really good player. I think that they're big enough inside to give their O-line some trouble, and I think their backers are going to have to step up this week. If Steel Canyon's backers step up this week and they stop their run game, I think that Steel Canyon will have a great chance at winning that game.
Cut. Show's over. Just knocked it out of the park, Dave. Can you believe that? We got our own analyst right here. Oh my God, I'm gonna clip that. Put it on Twitter, Justice. Steven, that was a pretty sick breakdown, wasn't it?
That was perfect, spot on.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with him. I'm gonna be, maybe I got to root for my Highlanders, but I think that everything that he said and the fact that Steel Canyon's at home kind of, makes them I don't know. Can you believe that the computers, Dave, kind of, I don't know if these guys look at it. I think they do. They know the playoff standing and everything. So the computers kind of have Steel Canyon, Dave, almost a 2-touchdown underdog in the game, and I can't see that as the case.
They need to reboot those computers or something, because that's definitely not going to be the case.
No.
Hey,
I'm saying if it comes down to that, I'm saying, and I'm calling it out right now, and I'm calling the Cougars with the upset with field goal.
Okay. Well, I'll hold you to. I'm gonna reserve my pick for tomorrow, and just because I know now you're picking the Cougars, I'm probably gonna go with my guys, right? I mean, I'm gonna have to. So
that wasn't a pick. I was just saying if their backers step up and stop their run game.
No,
that
Dave
wasn't a pick for me.
Yeah, Dave
is a very good team.
Yeah,
I'm throwing it out there. He knows I am.
All right.
Yeah, that's not a pick. We're not making Justice pick at all. That was Dave's pick, Justice.
All right.
To make it clear, but I think you said it the way we all see it. So, Stephen, as we get ready now, then for the remainder of that game, but you guys certainly are, win or lose, you're going to the playoffs. But win, it's, game.
Yeah, win would be that would be the best. The best thing, because West Hills hasn't had a home playoff game, and it's been over 5 years or something like that. It's been a while, and coming off the loss last year, McLennan, he's a great running back, and we knew what we had to do last year too, and we didn't get it done. So it's really it's all about the heart this week, and who really wants it more, because we know that we're able to beat them, and they think they can beat us too. So. It's really just.
I imagine the coaches aren't bringing up that game very much from last year, but it had to stick in your craw a little bit because of the way you guys came out firing early in the game and gave you guys so much confidence.
Coach Ash has mentioned it. It wasn't that we played bad. It kind of just we came out hot, and it was kind of a close game at first, and then once they had that 99-yard touchdown, everything kind of just went downhill. We had a few seniors get hurt. Jack Browning got hurt, and Joseph Zingales got hurt, and so they were leaders on the defense, and so that kind of brought it down. And then after that, they just took control of the ball, so took control of the clock, and we lost it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave, if anything, that game was kind of known as, Jamon scored 5 touchdowns in the game. To show you how much the team has changed. The philosophy hasn't changed, but in last week's game, 5 different players scored touchdowns for Monte Vista.
Exactly. Yeah. So they have a bunch of different weapons, and the way their offense is designed, they give the ball to, pretty much whoever's back there. Either way, the quarterback likes to run the ball a lot, and they have their two like F backs, and so they have their options. It's just a matter of us, kind of forcing it back in, trying not to let anything, get outside, and so we'll see.
And you probably got to be on watch as far as your line too for Sebastian Valdez. Because that's a pretty big fella that likes to get through. He's pretty physical, pretty big guy. And we can't forget about Logan Schmidt either. He's not the biggest guy, but he's pretty quick, and he could break that line down pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's still got some size, and being the brother of his older brother last year, he definitely knows how to play and knows how to hit. So they got some weapons, but we got some weapons, so we'll see.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah. And speaking of your weapons, I want to just talk about the guys who are kind of getting it out to you guys on the outside, and you run the ball too, Steve. We know you're kind of in the slot getting carries too. But tell me about these 2 quarterbacks and their tremendous efficiency this year. That's continuously what Dave and I have talked about. They don't make mistakes. Gerardo Hernandez. And Braden Oberg. First, maybe you could talk about Hernandez. Maybe he's gotten just slightly more of the reps, probably because he's a senior. That's kind of the way things work. But they look like the same guy statistically. So tell me about him, but also tell me about the prospects for Oberg, who is just a sophomore.
Yeah, so, Gerardo, he was a junior on JV last year, but, he knows the offense. He knows how to play, and stepping up as a senior this year, he really needs to make as many fewest mistakes as he possibly can. He's been working hard, and he's really gotten there this year. He's definitely improved the most, I think, on our team from last year to this year. And so I'm happy for him there. And Braden Oberg being a sophomore, he has. It's easy. It's a little bit easier for Gerardo on the field just because he has a little bit more experience and vision and kind of reading the defense. Braden's really young, so coming in sometimes I'll help him at the line or help him in the huddle. There's little things here and there that he still needs help with, but he's growing fast too. He's really learning the offense. Things are clicking for him, and going on throughout the season, he's really grew, and he starts to feel more comfortable, starting to pitch the ball, make more reads, and so they're both getting it done.
Yeah, and Justice, want to turn back to you for a moment, ask you about the upcoming playoffs as well. I think the interesting thing for you guys, we're in Division I, we're in, so we could throw those 4 losses aside, pick up this win this week, and then when we get into a matchup, you don't have to look at it. Maybe you guys have, but, Dave, Granite Hill sneaked into the top 10 there for a little bit, right around 10, 11, 12. Before that losing streak, things were on the rise a little bit. And the type of teams that they're going to have to go on the road, unfortunately, and face is teams that are comparable to them as far as where they're placed right now, kind of in the top 10. They'll be looking at, possibly teams like Oceanside or La Costa Canyon. Grossmont could fall out of that top 4 situation, depending. They're right on the border right now, and I don't know if they'd move a team so Grossmont teams don't face each other once again. But Justice, you guys got to think you got to have a good chance. It's going to be tough going on the road. It might be a long trip.
Yeah, well, the thing is with our record is I don't look at it as we've had a terrible season. I liked it to be a better record, but all those games we've lost, we've had either down by a touchdown with 2 minutes left to go or down by 3, hoping to get a stop. And we just made mistakes that we shot ourselves in the foot, and we should have won most of those games. And if we win those games, we're in a whole different position.
And if you recall, Ramon, a certain Steel Canyon team a couple years back, state championship, and they had quite a few losses middle to the end of their season, and then they went on a run, and they went on a big run, and then they won it all. So the possibilities are there. You guys are ready for it. I'm sure you guys are, and you're prepared after you beat Valhalla. I'm sure that Coach Cobbs is going to have you guys ready to move on and play some of those bigger teams.
Yeah, I think that with the emergence of Hall and also Keeley, I like how you described Keeley, Justice, because, here's a guy who's like, he's getting long touchdowns, and he's kind of a big dude, right?
Yeah, he's like 6'2", probably 6'1", but he's not like – he looks pretty big. He has big legs. I'll say that. He has big legs, but he's not like a big dude.
Dave, when we get together next season in that 4-team Grossmont Hills League, and everybody says, well, God, man, Granite really got the short end of the stick. They kicked those other schools out. And, hey, I don't look at it that way at all. When they return for next season, Justice is going to be the old man of all those great quarterbacks in the Grossmont Hills League. All those other guys are kind of, seniors, and Justice will be the guy who's kind of returning with all the experience. So, Justice, who's it going to be next year? We know you're losing the seniors, but you talked about these underclassmen. So I think that's going to be a good situation for you next season.
Yeah, definitely. I have Matt Keeley coming back and Jalen coming back. Our JV team's looking pretty good. I'm just focused on this season, but after, for sure, work with those guys every day, making sure to get there, get that chemistry going.
Yeah, Dave, I think the Eagles, as far as league play is concerned, the Eagles never went anywhere, but they'll be back next year, Dave, for sure.
Well, we all know. We owned it for quite a long time. Since 2016. So I think it's a pretty good run. And to have lose one league, but to do well in CIF, I'm sure you guys will take that just as well.
Yes, for sure. That's the goal, right? CIF championship.
Yeah, there's Izzy chiming in, seeing his guy, Steven up there. Yeah. Hey, before we get out of here, Dave, maybe I could have these guys talk for a minute. They both played on the Santee Ravens football team, and I asked Steven, I said, with Justice, being a great quarterback now, and we know you can, handle the ball catches, I imagine that Justice has thrown you some passes in the day. But, Steven, you kind of said that you guys played more baseball together. So tell me about some of the baseball experiences you've had. You're going to be a varsity player. You've already had a pretty good baseball career with West Hills.
Yeah, I actually his cousin. I played baseball with his cousin for a while, Jake, and we played travel ball forever. And growing up, Justice would come out to baseball every once in a while, and then he ended up just started playing on the team. So we played travel ball for a few different teams. Here and there, like on off seasons and stuff like that growing up. So it was a few years that we played baseball together. And the Ravens, Justice wasn't really a quarterback back then. But
I was a fullback and a lineman.
Yeah, it wasn't really a quarterback back then. But I remember it was like the beginning of this year, and I was watching PPR, and it was like Justice McComb, and I was like, what? Like Justice is playing quarterback? Like it just blew my mind, like seeing that. So I was just proud, I was like, dang, Justice is really growing up.
Yeah, maybe that was maybe that was last year, Justice. Was the Valhalla game where you got your first taste of some extended action, or was that just at the end of that game? When did you make that debut last year?
Yeah, it was the second half of the Valhalla game. I remember my first pass I threw like a 5-yard little slant to James, and he took it for like 60 yards.
Yeah,
it's too bad we didn't have the highlight on the reel, but I know we do have B-roll of him actually, because I showed up to the end of that game, and I think I caught about a quarter of it. So
yeah,
he had some good action actually at the end of that one.
And Justice, I imagine, I would think you were a pitcher, or were you swinging the stick?
I could not throw a baseball for my life.
What?
I always tell people I throw a football harder than I throw a baseball.
Yeah, that's crazy. You can really throw the football now, though. So.
How does that work out? I would think that Dave. I would think Coach Davis would be like, "Hey, I think I can get Justice in here."
He got me in there freshman year. Actually, he talked me into it, but I don't know. I just didn't really click with me. I was trying to my mom always said she would watch me, and I'd be in the outfield in practice or something, and I look behind the fence, and they're playing 7-on-7, getting ready for spring ball and stuff. I'm just like watching out there, wishing I was out there.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it was for me for baseball too. It would get to like the end of the season, and things are starting to like dry out, and then it's like you see your football team practicing on the football field, and you're like, well,
yeah,
that's
a different type of brotherhood. It's a different type of brotherhood in football.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Yeah.
And you guys, I don't think the Pac's playing the Eagles right now, so you guys are kind of having to, just keep up. I'm sure that, it's just a routine thing. I mean, you watch the highlights show and you hear the other guy's name, and you guys are on there pretty much every week. I mean, we know, Steven's had highlights all season, and Justice being a quarterback, his name's getting called every week. So just that little bit of your own brotherhood pride. When you're watching the show.
The other name, like hearing on the other name on the TV or something, it's like you get a smile to it brings a smile to your face. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, that's sick. That's sick because you think about it, we just take it for granted. We're watching the highlights, but you hear that and other guys that you might know out there.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, oh, that's my guy. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's why, Dave. That's why I named us all honorary Klingermans.
For 1 week.
All right, let's get these guys out of here. What a great show, man! That was awesome. Good luck, Steven. Good luck in that. Unless you got anything else, Dave.
And we're working on something else. I was going to try and get my son down here, but he may have already gone to sleep because we're working on something else. But for now, I wanted to. And in case you guys haven't seen them, let me get it the right way up here. We're for Player of the Week, and you each get one of these. And these are also Retro Sports took part in this. So the black and white, because it could pretty much match any jacket, and it's small enough to fit on there to where it's not over.
For the Letterman?
Yeah, so
all right, sounds good.
We got that, and then. We're also working on some shirts and
those are sick.
Yes.
So we would have this and then
there is. I had one.
And well, that's gonna be on the front, and then whatever your
what is Dave showing his workout? I might have to yeah. Oh, now I've lost him.
Oh, it's kind of. Kind of.
I know.
He doesn't know we've lost his audio, so I'm going to get out of here. We showed a Player of the Week shirt that we're going to get together, guys. And Dave, try to fix your audio before we get out of this show. I'm going to let these guys go. Dave, talk just one more second, Dave. Let me see. I'm going to bump him out and bring him back in. If not, we're going to get out of here. Stephen Cristini, thank you very much, brother. Good luck against Monte Vista this week. That's going to be a big, big game. Want to tell everybody about these games. Let me put these up on the screen. It's senior night, and this is the championship game of the Grossmont Valley League against the defending champions, the Monte Vista Monarchs, that frankly beat down the West Hills Wolfpack last year in that final game. So West Hills has got that revenge on their side.
We got that chip on our shoulder this year. Yeah.
Right. And Monte Vista knows that too. And hey, it's funny. I'm trying to wrap it up, and now I'm thinking again. But
Yeah.
kind of had a mirror season to you guys a little bit. They kind of started off where people are like, well, maybe Monte Vista not as good as they've been in the past. Same thing for West Hills. Well, they got those couple losses early. Now all of a sudden, hey, Santana, they had a great season. They got they got their cup back from you guys, but you win this game this week, and it's West Hills, Monte Vista, Santana, championship. So, and Justice, like I said, it's an important game for you guys. I know you want to get one league win. And, well, like I said, back in my day, if you will, maybe 20, 30 years ago, Valhalla Granite Hills was the El Cajon rivalry for sure through all those times. So good luck in your game as well this week. And Dave, stay on with me. He'd probably talk about all his sponsors, and he'd say goodbye, but we're going to get him out of here. Dave, thank you to you, and stop moving around and messing up your audio. All right. Justice McComb and Stephen Cristini, thanks a lot for joining us. Dave, stay on the line. I'm Ramon Scott. Good night.
Thank you.